Hello, Mr. Cufré Aramburu. The first match against Ecuador, Cáceres was playing as almost a center forward. He was replaced in the halftime. Then Savarino did that in Mexico or against Mexico, and then he was replaced in the second half. You want to continue exploring that possibility with them or with a different player in that area of the pitch? If so, do you think in that area maybe Segovia or Andrade or La Cava could have a turn? Good afternoon, everyone. We are not exploring options. We have a game plan or a system based on the traits of the players. Both Cáceres, Telasco Segovia can do that in that area. They are available. Tomorrow we'll have a match for which hopefully we'll find the spaces and we'll be able to develop the right chances and find the player that we're looking for. ESPN, a question for you, Leandro. Tomorrow in the match against Venezuela, if we administer it well, we might see the knockouts. So, will you give time to or minutes to the ones that have not played yet? And for the player, you had some difficulties with Quiñones, and in Jamaica, there are very fast players on that flank. If you are a starter tomorrow, how will you perform so that you avoid those minutes of adaptation? Well, I think that in the first minutes of the match, we had a hard time with the pressure, and Mexico was being able to create many opportunities on that side, so or that flank. So we'll try to avoid that suffering as we did against Mexico. We have a great illusion and our hopes high up regarding the players. Tomorrow they are all available. And when we decide on the lineup, we will let you know that they are all available to play. Good afternoon, Coach Tony Carrasco, Globovisión. Beyond the opportunities, there were many cautions and yellow cards that were shown to the players. There are other elements like the high temperatures. So beyond these opportunities and alternatives, what is your idea for a victory? And Jon, what does this mean to you to play in this opener, getting the first place in the group and an unbeaten streak? And to the coach, how do you feel about this unbeaten streak facing the match tomorrow? Well, to me, playing for the national team is the most amazing thing ever. There's nothing like representing your country. It is something I take to heart. I'm really proud about it. And we're not thinking about the unbeaten streak. We are thinking about tomorrow's match. Tomorrow it's going to be complicated, and we have to play as if it were a final in the same line. Those are statistics, having an unbeaten streak or not, but well, we want to consolidate our team and to give an identity with our game plan to this squad. And regarding those yellow cards, we do assess the situation and we also take into consideration the physical condition, the mindset of the players, and we obviously consider them taking into account those cards, but we cannot skip next match and we have to think about it and we'll see. if they are all available or not for the next match. But the one upcoming is the most important one. As Bocha, the head coach, always says, we cannot skip that. We have to go match by match. So we will concentrate on that. We are fully focused on that. And that is the most important thing. Coach, over here, what is your take on the suspension of Batista, taking into account that also the head coach in Argentina and the head coach in Peru went through the same thing? Well, he's very hurt because he cannot coach his team, and it is tough as a coach to undergo that situation, but we'll respect it. We respect the decision of CONMEBOL, and there's nothing to challenge. Coach Juan Gutierrez, Sport Venezuela here. Talking about game plans and systems, do you think that the 4-3-3 is the system that provides the most comfort? And what about the 4-2-3-1? Do you like it? Do you think that it can be executed, or would like to modify anything on it? Well, regardless of the system of the formation, there are things that we always have to analyze. Our game plan idea or idea of play that is unnegotiable, and the strategy that will be deployed for each match, take into account the temperature and the opponent, many things. Of course, we have played with a backline of 3 or 5, and anything you can think of, we've tried it, and we adapt to the match given its traits. And we have used many systems, but it also depends on the players, and they are very smart and they adapt to what we propose. So that is the path we are going to continue treading on. As I mentioned, regardless of the system, our play idea, our game idea is unnegotiable. We have to go to the pitch and propose and try to reduce the ball possession of the opponent to the minimum extent, but it's unnegotiable. The intention, the effort, and well, the system may vary. We have changed the, for instance, 3 times during a match. We had 3 in the midfield and a line of 4 in the midfield. We started with a back line of 5, then a back line of 3, and we have very smart players and they adapt to every game plan. Coach, good
Profesor, buenas
afternoon.
tardes.
Good afternoon,
Buenas tardes,
John.
John. Es el tiempo más prolongado que ha tenido el
This
cuerpo
is
técnico
the
a estos jugadores,
longest
más
time
allá de los
a coaching
resultados
staff
del
had
juego.
to
¿Qué
train
aspecto del grupo
players or
le ha
to prepare
sorprendido
with
más?
players. Beyond the
Y
results,
para
what
John,
aspect
John,
of the
este
group
cuerpo
has
técnico
surprised you the
que ha
most?
tenido en este proceso
John,
desde el Madrid
after Mr.
Rebelo hace unos
Rivero 2 years
años, que ha
ago,
llevado a la
in the
eliminatoria desde el
qualifiers, you
comienzo en el
played
medio,
in the
fichaste
midfield.
con la Real Sociedad.
What
¿Qué porcentaje le
percentage
das al respaldo del cuerpo técnico
do you
en tu carrera?
attribute of your success to the coaching staff in your career? Well, great percentage of, as you say, I have been under the lead of Batista since Montevelo, where he gave me that opportunity, and I've always felt the support. There have been times where we haven't seen each other, sometimes months elapse between matches, but it's very important to feel that level of attention being paid, and we feel that. I want to thank the coaching staff for that. Well, regarding that question, yes, we do feel the same. There is a great level of commitment, and we took on this responsibility from the minute we started working with them, and we had many FIFA match dates and the qualifiers, and we are consolidating this squad, this team, and it's very important to do so for our upcoming matches. Good afternoon,
Buenas tardes, profe
Coach
Jon.
Jon Mine
Miguel
Jimenez
Echegote de la
Vinotinto
Vinotinto TV.
TV.
Hemos
We have
resaltado en los dos partidos
highlighted
anteriores la mano del
the
Bocha, ¿no? Los cambios
hand
y el
of
efecto que han producido
Bocha,
en
of the
partidos del
head
equipo
coach,
y el protagonismo no
meaning
solamente ahora en la
his
eliminatoria también. Por
skills as
ejemplo,
a
recuerdo el
coach,
partido de Brasil,
well,
los
not
tres
only
cambios que ven
now, but in
involucrados
the
en el gol de Eduardo
qualifiers,
Ello.
and
¿Qué falta para
what
que
is
este impacto esté desde el
missing
arranque?
to have
¿En qué
an
están trabajando
impact
para que eso
from
suceda?
the very
Gracias.
first minute the team
Sí,
gets on the
eso a
pitch?
veces uno
Well,
puede
sometimes you
hacer
can
incluso al
analyze the
rival
potential
desde el
opponent or the
inicio
opponent, and
del equipo rival
from
a
that
veces nos
minute
condiciona, a
one,
veces nos está
that opponent
nos rendía
challenges us.
en los primeros
Sometimes
partidos nos rindió
the
la formación
starting
inicial, después el
formation
sistema, también el rival
was
cuenta, entonces a veces es
successful, but of
uno
course
puede
the
ver
opponent
quién es el que mueve mejor
also
la pieza y después quién es el
brings
que
its own to the
mueve
pitch.
primero
It's
para
like
tratar ese
chess.
spin y
We
neutralizar al
move the
rival.
pieces
Muchas veces
around,
tuvimos que corregir
and
eso, es verdad.
sometimes you have to correct
Por
and
suerte
neutralize the
contamos con el
opponent.
plantel
So we
suficiente como
have
para poder a veces
sufficient
cambiar
players to make
nombres, pero también,
modifications and
como dije antes,
substitutions,
podemos
but
mejorar
sometimes
o
with
modificar
the
un sistema
same
con los mismos intérpretes
interpreters
que entran a la
inside
cancha y eso
the
es lo más
pitch with the
importante,
same
mantener una base
players,
inteligente.
you can modify the system and adapt, and they are very smart to do so. Good afternoon.
Hola, buenas
Hi,
tardes,
John.
Jon.
I want to ask about your evolution as a player and your growth. Professionally speaking, you had your debut in a friendly match in the US last year. Now you have the opportunity to make your debut with a senior team in Copa America and, well, in the Champions League, in the League of Spain with your club. So, what's the key to this exponential growth? Because it's been a lot for 1 year.
Sí,
Well,
bueno, yo
I
creo que la
think
clave
the
es la
key
gente que te rodea
are
en el
the
día a día,
people surrounding you
tanto en el club
daily.
como en la
In
selección.
your
Tenemos
club,
jugadores
in the national
experimentados.
team, we have very
Si se
experienced
da en la
players,
selección,
Salomón,
Salomón, Tomás,
Tomás.
Robertico, que hoy no nos pudo
They
estar,
have
ha sido una
been
pieza también
of the
fundamental
essence for my
para mi
evolution
evolución porque
because they
te dan
give you
consejos
advice
día tras día,
and
que
they
son
want
personas
to
que te quieren
see
ver
you
mejorar,
grow
que
and
ellos también
improve,
están
and they
frustrados de
have
seguir más
had
jóvenes
the
y también han
opportunity to be
recibido
young
consejos
players
y
and
en la
they
Real
have
es más de lo mismo
received
también.
advice as
Jugadores
well.
que están pendientes de
And
ti,
in
que
La
han
Real,
tenido más
it's the
experiencia,
same
que quieren
thing. I
que
have
tú sigas
great
ese camino
teammates in my
y también
club
el cuerpo
and
técnico
the
de
coaching
ambos lugares,
staff
como te he dicho. Desde que estoy
in both
nunca se
places. In
apartado
La
de mí,
Real,
más
in the
bien al
national
contrario, siempre
team, they
estaban muy
have
cerca
been
y viceversa.
following
La
me
Real también ha
very
estado cerca de mí cuando estoy en la selección.
closely,
Así que yo creo
and
que esa es la
I
clave, que
feel
la
that,
gente con la que me
and
rodeo pues ha estado
everyone
pendiente y ha sido
is
clave para mi
really
evolución.
paying attention to my evolution. They want to see it happen.
Profe, acá
Coach
Jesús
Jesus
Sáez.
Saez
Profe,
here.
hasta ahora la selección ha
Well,
tenido muy buenos segundos tiempos.
so far,
¿Qué
the
has podido
national
analizar de
team
esos
has had
partidos
great
del primer
second
tiempo? ¿En qué momento le ha
halves.
costado tanto
What were
sacar
you
un resultado
able
antes
to
de ese
analyze for
partido?
the first halves?
¿Qué
Why
aportes
is
le ha
it
dado
tough
el
to
buen
reach a
momento
result
del
before
torneo
the
profesional
halftime?
en
And
la
John,
República
what can you
Dominicana?
say about
Gracias.
the improvement in your
No,
professional
no, muchos,
career
son
and what
muchas
has the
cosas,
coaching staff
pero
given you?
tanto personal como
They
futbolísticamente,
have given
porque
me
un jugador de
match, not
fútbol no es
only
solo lo
as
que muestra en
a
la cancha,
player
son
but
los
also
hábitos, son las
outside the
costumbres que un
field.
futbolista debe
They have
tener
taught me about the
y creo que
habits
me preguntas sobre el
and
cuerpo técnico de la selección
that a football
afuera de la
player
cancha
should
tuvimos
have.
muchas
And
habladas que
I think
no,
you were
no
only
siempre dedicamos
referring
a
to
ser un
the
buen
coaching
jugador
staff in the national
y
team.
eso
I
es la
think it
clave
is
de que
key
creo
what
que al
they've
final
done
todo lo que
because what
demuestras
they
fuera del
show
campo se ve
outside the
reflejado
pitch
y es lo
is
que
what we
vas a hacer
try
luego
to
dentro del
work
campo,
on
así que
and then
si tú eres una persona
reflect
que hace las
on
cosas
the
bien,
pitch.
que te cuidas, que te
So
mantienes, al final todos esos resultados
I
van a ser
think
reflejados en
that
la cancha. Yo creo que en la
in the
selección
national team, we
ponemos
are
mucho
always
hincapié en ser buenos
stressing
futbolistas fuera de la
that
cancha para luego
factor. We are
reflejarlo
always
dentro de ella.
underscoring that.
Sí,
We
bueno,
want to
tal,
be great players, but
muy
also
similar a la
great people
pregunta
outside the
que me hicieron
pitch.
recién.
Well,
Sí, a veces
I have been asked that
nos sentimos
question
superados por el
before.
rival en el primer tiempo.
Sometimes we
No fueron todos los partidos,
feel
hubo partidos
that the opponent is
con Italia,
superior
con
in the first
Guatemala,
half, but it wasn't in every match.
también,
We had
y después también
in
tuvimos que
against
revertir
Italy, in
un partido que
Guatemala, and then
estuvimos
in
superando
the
nosotros al rival.
qualifiers,
A
we
veces
were
sentimos que cuando se
able
nos
to
concreta
uh,
el
lead in
gol,
the first
podemos
half. Sometimes
trabajarlo
you
más
can
tranquilo
score
en
a
el
goal
campo,
and work
pero nosotros
at
tenemos
ease
que
in the
tratar de
first
evitar
time,
que
but
pase eso
sometimes that is not the case.
desde el
We
arranque
want
inicial
to
del primer
achieve great
tiempo.
results
Entonces es
from the
algo que nosotros
onset
tenemos que
of the
proponer
first
y
half,
mejorar, es
so
algo
it is
que
one of
obviamente
the
nosotros tenemos
points
que mejorar
that
y
we
obviamente
are working on
estamos
because
trabajando en
we
eso.
see it as a potential improvement. Coach, even though it's true that is a negative and that we have to try to play well from the onset. Also, you mentioned reacting, right? And reacting is good to change the mindset and deploy a different game plan. How do you work that? How do you work on that? How does the technical staff relay that message to the players to see it on the field? Well, it is true that you debuted John in the Champions League. And what was your experience on your debut with the national team, being the away team and playing in almost a final? Well, I think it was perfect timing. I enjoyed every minute of it, and I carry over to the next match a great experience, and we have to focus now on the next match tomorrow. We go match by match. Well, yes, we like acting, not reacting. We want to give the first strike sports wise, but sometimes we have to react. It's not our main idea, but it happens, and you need to know how to react. So, fortunately, the team has been able to react, but well, we are really focused on acting, on being the ones that set the tone. We will work really hard on that to achieve it. Darren Quiroz for ESPN. John, you were just talking about advice, pieces of advice that are shared. What is your relation with Alexander Gonzalez and coach? Your message is very clear to us. We know that the 26 players are available to be starters and that tomorrow's match will be deemed as a final. How many variations might we see from that backbone that is clear from the last two matches can we expect tomorrow? With Ale, I have an incredible relation, as I mentioned before. He is a player that has a great experience. He knows what these matches are like, and he always offers his help. These matches are defined by the details, by the emotions, and you need to know how to control that because there are different stages in a match, different phases, and he has always given me great advice. He always helps me to be emotionally prepared. We have a great relation, and I'm really happy about it. Tomorrow, we still have to define the starters for tomorrow. We have to take into account the physical condition of some players. We don't rule out modifications in the lineup, but tomorrow we'll have a lineup that, in our opinion, is made up of the players that are in the greatest condition. But of course, there might be some opinions to the contrary, but we will provide a list of starters with the players that we think are fit for the purpose tomorrow. Leandro, Jon, Fernando Petrocelli from Ruta Vino Tinto. Leandro, you have lived incredible experiences in Italy and Argentina throughout your career. And what is the energy around this process of La Vino Tinto, of our national team? And it's increasing because you continue to achieve great results. And coach, or John, sorry, Richard mentioned this before. You had some inconvenience when you tried to close the spaces. When do you feel you have a green light to join the attack? Are you free to decide when you want to join the attack? El Bocha, our coach, gives us that freedom to join the attack when we deem it the
no
right
tuvimos mucho
time.
balón, pero no, el coach siempre nos ha dicho que eso sí, cuando yo,
I think in the
en
first
este
half it
caso en el
didn't happen
partido
much
contra
because
México,
we
cuando
were not
cuando yo
dominating
pasara,
possession,
Miguel se
but
paraba
in
para
the
que nos
match
quedáramos
against
balanceados
Mexico,
en
well, we
defensa
talked with
y
Miguel
nada, la verdad que es
to
cosa de
avoid
interpretación de cada uno
creating
cuando está en el
problems in
campo.
the
No es
defense,
que el Bocha nos
but
dice no,
it's
no
not
pueden
like
pasar,
the
y
coach
mucho
says
menos
we
en el primer
cannot do
tiempo se
it.
dio
In the
menos por la
first
presión del
half, given
partido,
the
en el segundo tiempo
match
se pudo
evolution,
dar,
it didn't happen
así que
much,
no es
but
porque el Bocha nos diga que no,
if
ni
it
mucho
doesn't
menos,
happen,
sino
it's not because
interpretar
the
cuándo se puede y
coach
cuándo no
says
para el
we
beneficio del
shouldn't do
equipo.
it. We just have to interpret it as players.
Con el recorrido que por ahí no tuvo como
Well, and as regards the
y haber participado y haber jugado en un mundial,
evolution as a player, having
es algo que es
participated and
inexplicable
played
para
in a
nuestro
World
equipo,
Cup,
¿no?
it is almost
Es algo que a veces
impossible
nos podemos
to
hablar y ver
share it
este
or
grupo
to
de
explain what
jugadores,
it
el cuerpo técnico y
feels
staff, que
like.
todos estamos con un
We
mismo
as a
objetivo
team and with the
y
technical staff have the same
transmitir
goal,
esa pasión de que llegar a
transmitting
jugar un
that
mundial no es
passion,
para
because
cualquiera.
playing a World Cup isn't
Y
for
tener esa
everyone. I
posibilidad
had that
es
chance and I
privilegiado
was
y
privileged for it.
ojalá cada uno de
And
nosotros que me toque regresar a un mundial y que tengan su
hopefully
primera
we
experiencia
can
es
take them to
inolvidable.
the
Creo
World
que
Cup
es
so that
mucho
they
más
can have
disfrute
their
para un
first
entrenador,
experience
para
in
un
it. So
staff,
it is
para una federación. Es un
unmatched.
momento
It's a
top de tu
top
carrera.
moment of your career to participate in a World Cup.
muy
It is
difícil
great for the
transmitir eso,
federation, for the
pero
coaches, for anyone in
indudablemente
the
ellos lo tienen
staff,
claro de lo que
but
nosotros
they
queremos y lo que
they are
queremos
very
como
clear
país.
on our ultimate goal. Good afternoon. I hear you,
Yo te escucho.
Buenas tardes, caballeros. Felipe Ramis de No
Coach.
Fútbol. Profe, es realmente
It is admirable and a great highlight when we see how the coaching staff distributes pressure in the qualifiers in the Copa America. We see a Vino Tinto, a team that is very happy, so you are absorbing the pressure well. And then a question for Aramburu. We see a Vino Tinto, a team that is very happy, not only due to the results. It looks as if you were a family.
Sí,
What
como
is
tú
your
lo
take
dices,
on that?
es una familia.
It is as you mention it,
Dentro del
it's a
campo y fuera de
family.
ello. Lo vengo diciendo
And
hace unas preguntas atrás, que creo que el día
what
a día y lo que
happens
pasa fuera del campo es lo que te
outside
lleva
the pitch
a demostrar
is
resultados
what
fuera de ello.
leads
Creo
you
que
to show the
el que
results
está llegado a la
on the
selección, la
pitch.
verdad que es un grupo
So
magnífico, un grupo que lo
the
individual
individual
queda
skills
secundario,
are
que
on
siempre
a
ponemos
second
el
place, and we
grupo, lo
always
colectivo
put the
adelante. Yo
group
creo que eso es la clave que
first.
nos ha llegado hasta
That is
ahora,
the key
que
that
a
took
pesar
us
de que siempre
this
van a haber
far.
momentos malos y
We'll
momentos
always have ups and
buenos,
downs,
siempre
but we have
siempre
to
estar
be
unidos, siempre ser un
together
grupo, siempre ser una
and
familia. Yo creo
work as a
que eso es lo
group,
que
as
ha
a
sido la
family. I
selección hasta
think
ahora.
that so
Esperemos que
far
siga siendo así
this
por
has
mucho
been the
tiempo más,
case, and I hope
porque
that
como te
it
digo, es la clave
continues like
para
this
llegar a
because
grandes
we
cosas.
can achieve great things.
Bueno, con respecto a la
Regarding the
presión,
pressure,
eso es cada uno como hace
it
su
depends
manejo.
on how
Tenemos
each
una manera de gestionar.
one in the coaching staff
Estamos todos
manages
alineados
the
con el staff,
performance,
tenemos profesionales que
and
trabajan
we are
todos
all
los
in
que
line
ayudan
in our
y
staff. We have
todo
great
se hace posible
professionals
para
that
el
also
objetivo.
help us
Ellos
around
están abiertos
us,
también a
and
los receptivos
they are very
y
open
cada
as
cosa que
players.
uno les
They
puede
receive,
compartir, decimos consejos,
let's
porque nosotros no nos gusta
not
compartir,
call it
pero
advice.
nosotros
We
compartimos
share
nuestros
our
conocimientos,
knowledge
ellos
with
están
them,
muy
and
receptivos
they embrace it,
a poder cambiar la
and
historia
they
de un
are
país.
very
Entonces,
willing to
a nosotros es
change
una
the
necesidad
history
y
of a
orgullo
country.
que ellos
So
estén
we are
así.
also full of hope and pride. Sibelia Fernandez for Sports Media. I want to ask about the defense of Vino Tinta. It is the most positive aspect we highlight of the national team on the pitch. As a defender, what does the team have to keep up to continue without conceding space? Thank you.
No, la verdad
Well,
que
it is
es
true
verdad que estamos
that we
haciendo un trabajo
are
defensivo
performing
increíble,
perfectly well
pero creo que sería
in the
injusto
defense,
solo
but
nombrar
it
la
would be
defensa.
unfair
Creo
to
que
only
el primer
mention
defensa es
the
el delantero y
defense.
creo que
The first
desde ahí empieza
defender
la presión.
is the forward, and
los 11
the
jugadores
11
estemos conectados
players
con lo que
have to
tenemos que
be
hacer. En la
connected,
faceta defensiva es muy
and
importante que
we are
todos
all
estemos implicados.
engaged in the
Y yo creo
defense.
que, para
And
responderte la otra
regarding the
pregunta, el orden,
structure,
el estar en el lugar donde
it
tienes
means,
que estar en el
well,
momento
it's
indicado,
necessary
creo que ha
to
sido la
be
clave
on the
del
right place
compañerismo y sobre todo
at
algo
the
muy
right
importante,
time.
la comunicación.
And
La comunicación dentro del
for
campo
that purpose,
es
it's very
súper
important to
importante en momentos
communicate on the pitch
complicados
to
porque el
avoid
otro día estábamos
complicated
estadio lleno
situations.
donde,
The last
donde
match, it
es
was
difícil que se
tough to
escuche,
hear
pero
each
las voces dentro
other
del campo
given
son
the
fundamentales,
crowd,
estar ahí, sentir a
but
tu compañero cerca,
it's very
porque
important
cuando a veces
to
ese jugador
try,
no puede,
because
tienes a
if
su
you
compañero que sí
team
gana por
up
él.
with the other
Esa ha sido la
players,
clave, que
if you
estamos
don't make it
siendo
to a
ordenados,
ball,
que estamos
then you
comunicándonos, que
can
cuando uno
take
no puede, pues
turns
está el
and
otro para ayudarlo, para echarle una
you
mano.
can
Esa ha sido la clave
receive help
de que
from
estemos defendiendo bien y espero
your
que
colleagues.
sigamos
So
así.
it's very important that we keep it up. Over here, Coach Jon. Good afternoon, Ramón Medina, Diario El Nacional. The four teams that are leading the groups are the four in the qualifiers standing. So I think this happened, but it wasn't by chance. What is your take on that, Coach and Jon?
Bueno, ya, la verdad, que yo creo que
These are
son
different
competencias diferentes,
tournaments,
son competiciones
completely
totalmente
different,
distintas,
but it is true
pero sí es verdad que hay selecciones, bueno, la verdad que en Sudamérica siempre ha
that
sido muy competitivo, muy parejo
it
todo,
is a
y
very
todas las selecciones
even
están a un gran nivel.
level.
Si bien las eliminatorias son un poco más largas,
This
el
tournament
torneo es muy
is
corto y es de
shorter, the
detalles, pero
qualifiers
hoy en
are
día
longer,
está primero una
but
selección y al día siguiente
this
puede estar otra. La
there's a
verdad que
certain
todas son muy
rotation
competitivas
because now
y
it
todas son
is
muy
our
parejas,
turn
así
to be
que
there.
se
Some
define por
other
detalles. Hoy
teams
está,
can
hoy
be
un día le toca a
there
uno y otro
at a
día le
different
toca a otra
time.
selección.
I
Sí,
agree.
coincido. Justamente es
Precisely,
que los
the
cuatro
four
que lideran
leaders
los
of the
grupos
groups
estén ahí en los primeros
is
cuatro lugares de la
is a
eliminatoria
coincidence,
también, ¿no? Pero
but
después se va achicando
there's a
por el tiempo,
funnel
por
that
las
narrows
diferencias.
down, and this is a
Seguramente
different tournament.
van a llegar más
The
lejos que
one
mejor hagan las
that
cosas. Eso lo tenemos
plays
muy claro.
the better will
Esa
get
es
the
la
further.
el que mejor haga las cosas
And
va a
I
llegar
think that
al
it's
objetivo
the same for the
principal, que
qualifiers.
es
The
calificar.
one that performs the better will reach the World Cup. Edwin Preto for Móvil Hispana. Coach, tomorrow there's a very important match. But tomorrow you will be leading. I think it will be your debut head coaching in Copa America for the national team. How is Leandro Cufré feeling about it? And Jon, tomorrow you'll be playing in a stadium that is not closed and in Austin that is terribly hot.
Hola, bueno,
How
creo
are
que
you
todos los
considering
factores
these
que pueden
weather
haber que no
conditions for
controlamos
tomorrow?
nosotros
Well,
quedan en el plano
they
secundario,
are
pero
on a secondary
siempre
plane.
tratamos de
We
pensar en
cannot
lo que vamos a
control
hacer
that,
nosotros,
so we
porque sí es
just
verdad
have
que va a
to
hacer calor,
focus on
pero va a
what
hacer
we
calor para
can
los dos
do.
equipos, ¿no?
It will be hot,
Entonces
but it will be hot
no
for
puede ser una
both
excusa,
teams.
nosotros tenemos que
It cannot be
enfocarnos
made
en lo que
into an
podemos hacer, en lo que
excuse.
tenemos que hacer.
So
Yo creo
we
que eso
have
es lo
to
que nos va a
really
ayudar a asegurar
concentrate on
partido
what
mañana,
we
ya
are
después
able to
el
achieve
lodo,
tomorrow,
la cancha
and these
techada,
are
esos son
secondary
factores secundarios que quedan en segundo
factors.
plano.
Sí, de la emoción
Well, yes,
de mañana va a ser idéntica.
being there tomorrow
Claro cuál es mejor.
gives me the same level of enthusiasm
Lo mismo
as I had in the previous two matches. It doesn't change anything for me.
No siento
It will be the same for any other match. I don't feel any extra pressure, and decisions here are made collectively by the coaching staff. The decision of the coach prevails, and that is the only line I am aware of for group work. And we all support that decision. And we always try to bring our opinions to the table, looking to favor the team. In this roller coaster of emotions that we experienced in the first two matches, we saw Nahuel Ferraresi that was broken emotionally. He was recovering from a major injury, and we could see him crying, crouching down a little bit. And in Rafa Romo's case, after playing against Mexico, we also saw that in the mixed zone. In the national team, how do you handle emotional balance and that type of emotion, serenity to conquer
Nosotros
these
queremos que tengan esos
goals step
sentimientos
by step.
y que
We
vean los
want them
cambios. Por
to
eso muchas veces
be able
decimos,
to
se acerquen
express their
muchísimo
feelings and for them to see the change. And
fanático
we
que se acerque
really
al
let
jugador
also the
porque
fans approach
estos
the
chicos la pasaron muy
players
mal,
because
fueron muy
they
criticados durante mucho
had
tiempo.
the players
Y
had a
justo
really
ahora
bad
decimos
time
el
before. They were
reconocimiento. Nosotros
criticized
queremos
for a
ese
very long
reconocimiento. Por
time,
eso
so we
nosotros
want them to
valoramos
feel
el esfuerzo que
recognized.
hicieron
We
para
value the
permanecer en
effort they
selección
made to
bajo
stay
nuestra
in the
conducción.
national
Lo
team
valoramos
under our
muchísimo y vemos el
coaching.
compromiso
We value that.
y
We
ese
see
es
their level
realmente
of
el
commitment
llanto de
and
emoción, no es por el llanto de
that
alegría, porque vivieron
those
muchas cosas, ¿no?
emotions,
Y Nahuel
crying or
es uno de esos
those
jugadores
feelings.
que
Well,
estuvo
Nahuel
en
was
muchos
a player
procesos
that
y
engaged in the
en el
different
último
cycles
año
of the
sufrió una
team, and
lesión muy fea, muy
last
muy fea, del cual
year
se repuso
he was
y
injured and
permanentemente estaba en
he
contacto con el cuerpo médico,
recovered,
con
and
el
he was in
técnico,
constant
para dar
contact with
muestra
the
de su
medical
evolución
staff and the coaching staff
y
to
obviamente con todo el staff
keep us posted
del
with
cuerpo
his
técnico
evolution.
físico que
And
lo
we
acompañó el
also
otro
were there for
permanentemente,
him
hay que destacar
constantly,
eso también,
the
¿no? En la parte
physical
física, la verdad
recovery
que tanto del jugador
of
como la que tenemos
the
en el cuerpo
the
técnico,
teams in
es muy
our
buena.
coaching staff and his personal team were amazing, and we have to also mention that. Last question. Good afternoon, coach. Good afternoon, John. Daniel Machado for Sangre Vino Tinto. First, congratulations for moving on to the knockouts. Coach, I know you said you were not going to disclose any modifications, but we have 4 players with yellow cards for the next match. Will that be taken into consideration when deciding on the modifications of the lineup against Jamaica? And John, there are very hot temperatures that demands physically and being a fullback. Is there any specialized or differentiated training to face this type of matches? And do you take into
Bueno, como
account
bien dije,
how
asciende
close
mucho
these matches are
los factores
from each
externos,
other?
lo que queda en el plano
Well, I already
psicológico,
mentioned
lo que
those are
seguirá siendo lo
external
que
factors
hace
on
nuestra
a
hora
secondary
para
plane,
poder hacer un
and
buen
I
partido.
think that
Sí es
we'll
verdad
keep
que
up
puede hacer
our
mucho
work
calor, pero que el
as we
descanso,
have
la
been
alimentación
training so
va a ser muy
far. It
importante
is true, it will
para
be
poder
very
afrontar el
hot,
partido de la mejor
but
manera. Pero como
resting
te digo,
and
siempre pensando en que
nutrition are
tenemos
very
cosas que
important,
controlamos
and
nosotros los
we
jugadores
have
que
to
hay que poner toda nuestra
control what we
energía y
can
enfocarnos en
control
ello, ¿no?
and
Ya lo
also
demás,
put our
pues,
energy and
como te digo, no lo
refocus
podemos
it to
controlar y
what we
no
can
podemos perder
control. We
energía o
cannot waste
tiempo pensando
time
en esas
thinking
cosas, ¿no?
about other
Así que
factors.
mañana,
So
como te digo,
tomorrow
pensar en lo que
we'll
podemos
think
hacer,
about
en
what
lo
we
que
can
podemos hacer
do
para el bien de la selección, en
to
lo que
benefit
tenemos que
the
estar
team,
pensando para poder
and we
ganar el
have
partido, que es
to
lo que queremos.
really
Sabemos que va a
concentrate
ser
on
un día muy
winning against
complicado,
a very
así que nada, como te
complicated
digo,
rival.
hacer
So
lo que
we'll
tenemos
do
que
our
hacer
best.
para poder lograrlo.
Sí, tomamos en
We do take
consideración
into
todo
consideration
lo que nos está sucediendo en estas dos primeras jornadas.
everything that took place in the
Puede
first
ser
2 matches.
determinante,
That
pero
could be
nosotros lo que
one
tenemos
of
que
the
hacer es
conditions, but we have
el
to
equipo que
present the
nosotros
best team
consideramos
possible for
partidos más
tomorrow's match. And if we have to play with
con
one player that
la
was shown a
advertencia
yellow
de
card,
tener que jugar,
they'll have to
porque
play
lo más importante
because
mañana
we
es
have
sacar un
to
resultado.
achieve a victory tomorrow, and
No queremos
we
no queremos pasar de
don't want
amistoso y
to
pensar que
take
ya tenemos
anything
el
for
próximo,
granted and let it
nada.
go to our heads.
Que el equipo esté por el buen camino y
We
que se obtuvieron
have
resultados positivos.
achieved positive
Significa,
results. We are
como
treading on the right
anteriormente
path, but that
sabemos
doesn't mean
que
anything right now
cada
for the
día
next
en cada
match. We know they
partido
gave
nos
it
está
their all.
mejorando, nos está
They are
sumando, se está
showing that.
consolidando el grupo.
We are
Hasta
consolidating
hoy
the
no
squad, but
no conseguimos nada a nivel
we haven't
deportivo
achieved
que nos
the
propusimos,
goals
entonces
that we
tenemos
set
que
out
ir
for ourselves
paso
yet.
por
So we
paso.
have to go step by step.
Agradecemos a
We
Leandro
have to
Cufré
thank
Jon
Fernando
Aramburu por ser
Cufré and
parte
Jon
de la
Aramburu
Conmebol Copa
for being
América
part
Estados
of
Unidos
this
2024
press
conferencia de
conference
prensa. Muy
of the
buenas tardes.
Conmebol
Muchas gracias,
USA
buenas tardes.
2024. Thank you very much.